The message came on a Tuesday. Dr. Alan Wright was working late at the NASA Deep Space Listening Station when the computer started beeping. At first he thought it was just space noise, the kind of random signals that came from dying stars or distant quasars. But this was different. This signal repeated. Alan rubbed his tired eyes and looked at the screen again. The pattern was too regular to be natural. His heart began to beat faster as he realized what he might be looking at. He picked up his phone with shaking hands and called his boss. "Sir, I think you need to see this," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. "I think someone is talking to us." Within 24 hours, every major space agency in the world had the signal. It was coming from somewhere beyond Jupiter, moving toward Earth. The pattern was complex but clearly artificial, a message from another world. In Washington, D.C., the president gathered her advisors. In a room filled with serious faces, she asked the question everyone was thinking: are we in danger? No one had a clear answer. Scientists around the world worked day and night trying to understand the message. Military leaders prepared for the worst. Regular people looked up at the night sky and wondered what was coming. Samantha Powell was a linguist with 3 PhDs and a reputation for solving impossible puzzles. The government brought her to a secret facility in Colorado where a team was working to decode the alien message. "It's a language, but not like any we've seen before," she explained to the room of scientists and military personnel. "It doesn't follow our rules of grammar or structure." For weeks, Samantha barely slept. She covered the walls of her small office with patterns and symbols. Other team members worried she was losing her mind, but Dr. Wright believed in her. "You'll crack it," he told her one night, placing a fresh cup of coffee on her desk. "If anyone can understand them, it's you." Samantha smiled weakly. "What if they're telling us they're coming to destroy us? What if I'm working to translate our death sentence?" Alan shook his head. "A species advanced enough for interstellar travel could wipe us out without a warning message. The fact that they're trying to communicate is a good sign." The breakthrough came 83 days after the first signal. Samantha burst into the main lab at 3 a.m., waking the few scientists who had fallen asleep at their desks. "It's not just words, it's images too," she exclaimed. "The patterns create pictures when arranged correctly. Look." On the main screen, she displayed what looked like a star map, with one point clearly marked. Then came simple mathematical equations, followed by what appeared to be a biological diagram. "They're teaching us their language," she said, "and they're telling us they'll arrive in 6 months." The news went public the next day. Panic spread in some places. Religious groups declared it the end times. But mostly, people waited and wondered. Governments around the world put aside their differences and formed the International Space Communication Initiative, ISCI, to prepare for first contact. Dr. Wright and Samantha led the communication team. Captain Lisa Miller, a decorated Air Force pilot with a calm demeanor even in crisis, was appointed as military liaison. Together, they developed protocols for when the aliens arrived. "We need to appear strong but not threatening," Captain Miller explained during a planning meeting. "We show our capabilities without pointing weapons directly at them." The military prepared anyway. New defense systems were rushed into production. Soldiers trained for scenarios no one could properly imagine. The world held its breath and counted down the days. 5 months and 28 days after the first signal, radar stations around the world detected the object entering our solar system. It moved at incredible speed, slowing only as it approached Earth. It was massive, nearly a mile long according to radar estimates. The alien ship entered Earth orbit exactly when their message had predicted. It was beautiful and terrifying. A sleek vessel that seemed to shimmer like oil on water, changing colors as it moved across the sky. Everyone on Earth could see it with the naked eye when it passed overhead. "They could have destroyed us already," Dr. Wright said as he watched the ship through a powerful telescope. "The fact that they haven't means they want something else." The first direct communication came 3 days after their arrival. The message appeared simultaneously on every connected screen on Earth, bypassing all security systems like they were nothing. Samantha's translation matrix worked. The message was simple. "We are the Varaxians. We come to evaluate. Prepare to receive our ambassadors. World leaders gathered in Geneva to plan the reception. Captain Miller supervised security arrangements, though she privately told Dr. Wright that their weapons would be useless if the aliens decided to attack. It's not about whether we can win a fight, she said. It's about showing we won't go down without one. The landing site was prepared in a large field outside of Geneva. Military forces from 20 nations formed a perimeter, while diplomatic teams rehearsed greeting protocols. Dr. Wright and Samantha would be the first to approach, with Captain Miller and her security team close behind. The day of landing dawned clear and cool. Billions watched on screens around the world. A small craft detached from the mothership and descended slowly, landing with barely a sound on the prepared platform. For several long minutes, nothing happened. Then a door appeared in the seamless hull, opening to reveal a soft blue light from within. Dr. Wright took a deep breath and looked at Samantha. "Ready to make history?" he asked. She nodded, her face a mixture of fear and excitement. "Let's just hope it's the good kind." The beings that emerged were tall, nearly 7 feet, with bodies that seemed both insect-like and strangely beautiful. Their skin glowed with soft bioluminescence, shifting colors as they moved. 4 of them stepped onto Earth soil, their movements graceful despite the higher gravity. The leader stepped forward, body pulsing with blue light. It made a series of clicking sounds that the translation matrix converted. "I am Ambassador Krell-Thar of the Galactic Ascendancy. We have come to assess if humanity is ready to join the wider community of intelligent species." Dr. Wright stepped forward as practiced. "We welcome you to Earth and look forward to learning from each other." The ambassador's skin flashed yellow. Briefly, "You misunderstand. This is not an exchange. This is a test. You will be evaluated on 3 criteria: technological capability, military strength, and species character." Captain Miller tensed beside Samantha. "And if we fail?" she asked. The alien's colors darkened to a deep purple. "Those who fail are not permitted to leave their worlds. The galaxy has enough barbarians already." As the diplomatic team escorted the aliens to their quarters, Dr. Wright whispered to Samantha, "I think first contact just became first contest." The tests had begun, and humanity's future hung in the balance. The Varaxian ambassadors settled into the special quarters built for them outside Geneva. The buildings had been constructed in just 3 days, following specifications sent from the alien ship. The rooms were kept at higher temperatures than humans found comfortable, and the lighting was dim with a bluish tint. Armed guards stood outside, though everyone knew they would be useless if the aliens decided to cause trouble. Ambassador Krell-Thar requested a meeting with world leaders the EE next morning. In a large conference room, representatives from every major nation gathered nervously. Dr. Wright and Samantha sat near the front, their translation equipment ready. Captain Miller stood against the wall, watching everything with careful eyes. Krell-Thar's exoskeleton glowed green as he spoke. "The Galactic Ascendancy has existed for 50,000 of your years. We bring order to chaos. Species that join us gain knowledge and protection. Those who fail our tests remain isolated forever." The room was silent as the aliens explained the 3 tests. The technology test would come first. Humans would need to demonstrate their scientific understanding and engineering capabilities. "We do not expect you to match our technology," Krell-Thar said, his skin shifting to blue. "We only need to see your potential." The military test would follow, evaluating humanity's ability to defend itself. The final test, species character, was described only as the most important evaluation. The President of the United States stood up. "With all respect, Ambassador, we didn't ask to be tested. Earth is our home, and we have the right to determine our own future." Krell-Thar's body flashed with red lights. "That is a common misconception among developing worlds. The galaxy is not empty, and resources are not infinite. Uncontrolled expansion leads to conflict. The Ascendancy prevents war by controlling which species may leave their home systems." The technology test began the next day. The Varaxians requested demonstrations of Earth's most advanced computers, energy systems, and medical technology. Chief Engineer Kevin Ramirez from NASA led the technology team, showing off the best humanity had to offer. Kevin was proud of human achievements, but next to Varaxian technology, everything seemed primitive. The aliens could manipulate gravity, create materials that changed properties on command, and their medical knowledge made human doctors look like children playing with toys. Our ship's computer could process all the data on your global internet in seconds, one Varaxian scientist told Kevin. Your technology is roughly where our species was 15,000 years ago. Despite this gap, the aliens seemed impressed by human creativity. When Kevin showed how humans had adapted their limited resources to solve complex problems, the Varaxian skin changed to colors their translator said indicated surprise. You announced your presence only 6 months ago, Kevin said as he demonstrated a makeshift communication system he had built overnight. Look what we've accomplished in that time. Imagine what we could do with guidance. The Varaxians conferred among themselves, their bodies flickering with rapid color changes. Ambassador Krelthar finally turned to the human delegation. You have passed the first test. Despite your primitive technology, your species shows remarkable adaptability. The military test began a week later. Captain Miller led this phase, showing the aliens Earth's defense capabilities. Jet fighters performed aerial displays. Naval vessels demonstrated their weapons systems. Special forces teams ran combat simulations. The Varaxians watched with what seemed like amusement. When asked to demonstrate their own capabilities, they simply pointed a small device at an abandoned oil platform in the ocean. The platform disappeared without sound or flash, simply ceased to exist. We could have eliminated your species from orbit, Krelthar stated calmly. Your weapons are meaningless against us. Despite this discouraging demonstration, the military test continued. The aliens proposed simulation exercises, scenarios where human forces would face Varaxian technology. As expected, humans lost every direct confrontation. Yet something unexpected happened during these exercises. When one simulation involved civilian casualties, Captain Miller ordered her team to abort the mission, even though it meant certain defeat. The objective was to win, the Varaxian military observer noted, his skin pulsing orange. Not at any cost, Captain Miller replied. Some victories aren't worth the price. In another exercise, Nurse Olivia Clark was assigned to treat simulated casualties. Despite the chaotic battlefield scenario, she treated injured enemy combatants with the same care as Allied forces. The Varaxians watching her seemed confused by this behavior. Why waste resources on those who tried to kill you? One asked. Because they're wounded and need help, Olivia answered simply. That's what we do. The military exercises continued for days. Humans lost every battle when measured by traditional metrics. Yet the Varaxians spent increasing time discussing human tactics among themselves. Kevin Ramirez was brought in during the final phase to demonstrate how humans modified their weapons. Rather than showing more destructive capabilities, he presented systems designed to minimize civilian casualties, precision targeting, non-lethal options, and early warning systems. Our goal isn't just to win, he explained, it's to protect. Ambassador Krelthar's body shifted through several colors before settling on a deep purple. Your military capabilities are inadequate by our standards, he announced to the waiting human delegation. Yet your approach is noteworthy. You display tactics we have not observed in other species at your development stage. Dr. Wright leaned close to Samantha. I think that's a good thing? Samantha nodded slightly. They seem confused by us. That could work in our favor. The military test concluded with an unexpected announcement. While your defensive capabilities fail our traditional metrics, Krelthar stated, we will proceed to the final test. Your species continues to surprise us. That evening, the human leadership team gathered to discuss their progress. 2 tests down, 1 to go. No one knew what the species character test would involve. They're looking for something specific, Dr. Wright said. Something beyond technology and military power. Captain Miller nodded. They seemed most interested when we made choices they didn't expect, when we chose to protect rather than destroy. Whatever this final test is, Samantha added, I think it will reveal what they really value. The next morning, as the team prepared for their meeting with the Varaxians, an emergency alert sounded across all channels. Earth's deep space monitoring stations had detected a massive object heading toward the planet, an asteroid large enough to cause global devastation. Initial calculations gave Earth less than 2 weeks before impact, and the Varaxians were watching humanity's response with great interest. Panic spread across Earth as news of the asteroid broke. Scientists confirmed it was large enough to cause an extinction-level event. At nearly a mile wide, it would strike with the force of thousands of nuclear bombs. The impact would throw so much dust into the atmosphere that sunlight would be blocked for years. Most life on Earth would die. World leaders gathered for an emergency meeting. Dr. Wright brought the latest projections. The asteroid would hit in 12 days somewhere in the Pacific Ocean. The resulting tsunamis alone would kill millions. We need to ask the Varaxians for help, the president said. Their technology could easily divert the asteroid. Captain Miller nodded in agreement. Pride isn't worth extinction. When Ambassador Krelthar entered the meeting room, his body glowed a calm blue. Dr. Wright found it disturbing how relaxed the alien seemed given the crisis. Ambassador, we request your assistance, the president said. This asteroid threatens all life on our planet. Your technology could save us. Krelthar's colors shifted to purple. This situation is most unfortunate. However, we cannot intervene. The room erupted in angry shouts. The ambassador waited for silence before continuing. This is part of the third test, species character. How you respond to this crisis will determine your worthiness to join the ascendancy. Samantha stood up, her voice shaking. You're saying you'll let us die as a test? If you cannot save yourselves, you are not ready for the wider galaxy, Krelthar replied simply. The universe is harsh. Member species must demonstrate resilience. The meeting ended with the humans furious and the Varaxians unmoved. Outside, Dr. Wright confronted Krelthar. You could have diverted this asteroid months ago before you even contacted us, he said. Did you send it? The ambassador's skin flashed briefly red before returning to blue. That would be against our protocols. We observe natural crises, we do not create them. He walked away, leaving Dr. Wright unconvinced. Earth's governments mobilized all resources. Every rocket capable of reaching space was prepared for launch. Nuclear weapons, the only tools humans had that might affect an asteroid, were readied. Scientists worked around the clock on plans to break up or divert the massive rock. Kevin Ramirez led a team designing special nuclear packages that might fragment the asteroid or alter its course. Even if we break it up, we'll still get hit. By pieces, he explained during a briefing. But many small impacts might be survivable, unlike one big one. As these preparations continued, something unexpected happened. A small Varaxian scout ship, returning from observing Earth's outer planets, suffered some kind of malfunction. It crashed into the Pacific Ocean, going down about 200 miles from Hawaii. The main Varaxian ship sent out a distress signal, indicating 3 crew members were trapped in the sinking vessel. They expect us to rescue their people while we're facing extinction? Captain Miller asked in disbelief when she received the news. Navy Commander John Baker, who led the Pacific Rescue Fleet, had a different view. If we let them die when we could save them, what does that say about us? Despite the pressing asteroid crisis, Commander Baker diverted ships and personnel to the crash site. The scout ship had sunk to a depth of over a mile, near the limits of human diving technology. The pressure at that depth could crush a submarine. We'll need the deep-sea rescue submersible, Baker told his team, and volunteers who understand. They might not come back. He expected to have trouble finding people willing to risk their lives for aliens during a global crisis. Instead, so many sailors volunteered that he had to choose among them. The rescue mission was dangerous from the start. The Varaxian ship was leaking some kind of energy that human instruments couldn't identify. The submersible could only carry 2 rescue divers plus a pilot. Baker chose to pilot it himself with 2 experienced divers. The descent took 3 hours. When they reached the crashed ship, they found its hull cracked but still partly intact. The Varaxian survivors had sealed themselves in a compartment that was slowly filling with water. Baker managed to dock the submersible to the alien ship. The divers cut through the damaged hull and found the 3 Varaxians inside. Their bodies glowed weakly, a sign that they were injured or dying. "We need to move them carefully," one diver reported over the radio. "Their exoskeletons are damaged." Moving the aliens to the submersible was slow work. The compartment filled with water faster as they opened it. The last Varaxian was pulled free just as the ship's structure began to collapse. During the ascent, the submersible developed a leak. Oxygen levels dropped dangerously low. Baker reduced his own oxygen to ensure the others, including the aliens, had enough to survive. By the time they reached the surface, Baker was barely conscious. The rescue team rushed the 3 Varaxians to a special medical facility where Nurse Olivia Clark and her team waited. "We don't know anything about their biology," Olivia admitted. "We'll have to guess." The Varaxian mothership sent medical information to help, but much of it was too advanced for human doctors to understand. Still, Olivia and her team worked tirelessly. They managed to stabilize all 3 aliens, though one remained in critical condition. Ambassador Krelthar visited the hospital. His body glowed with colors the humans had never seen before as he observed his injured crew members and the humans caring for them. "You diverted significant resources to save 3 individuals not of your species," he said to Commander Baker, who was recovering in a nearby bed. "Why?" Baker looked confused by the question. "They needed help. What else would we do?" As Krelthar left the hospital, he encountered Dr. Wright waiting outside. "Did we pass your test?" Dr. Wright asked bitterly. The ambassador's colors shifted slowly. "The test is not complete. The asteroid still approaches." "And you'll still do nothing to help us?" "That is correct." Krelthar paused. "However, I have sent a complete report of the rescue operation to my superiors. It was unexpected." As the ambassador walked away, Dr. Wright felt a small spark of hope. Maybe they were making an impression after all. But with the asteroid now just 7 days from impact, humanity needed more than good impressions. They needed a miracle. The rescue team had saved 3 Varaxian lives. Now they needed to find a way to save billions of human ones, and time was running out. 7 days remained before the asteroid would hit Earth. The world's space agencies had united their efforts, but the outlook was grim. The asteroid was too large to destroy with existing weapons, and attempts to alter its course had failed. Evacuation plans were prepared for coastal areas, though everyone knew that nowhere would be truly safe. Kevin Ramirez hadn't slept in 3 days. His office walls were covered with calculations and diagrams. Empty coffee cups littered his desk. When Dr. Wright entered, Kevin barely looked up. "I think I have something," Kevin said, his voice rough from exhaustion. "Not a way to stop it completely, but maybe a way to reduce the damage." The plan was bold and desperate. They would use every available nuclear weapon, not in one massive strike, but in a carefully planned sequence. Each explosion would chip away at the asteroid and alter its path slightly. No single detonation would be enough, but the combined effect might make the difference between extinction and survival. "The timing has to be perfect," Kevin explained as world leaders gathered for a briefing, "and we need to place charges at specific points on the asteroid's surface." "Can we do that with remote control?" the president asked. Kevin shook his head. "The final placement will need to be done manually. The communication delay from Earth would make remote control too imprecise." The room fell silent as everyone realized what this meant. Someone would have to fly to the asteroid and place the charges, almost certainly a one-way trip. "I've run the numbers," Kevin continued. "With our fastest ship, a pilot could reach the asteroid, plant the charges, and have maybe a 3-minute window to get clear before detonation. The odds of survival are—" He paused. "Low." Captain Miller spoke up from the back of the room. "We'll need volunteers. I'll go myself if necessary." As the meeting ended, Dr. Wright pulled Kevin aside. "Be honest with me. Will this work?" Kevin rubbed his tired eyes. If everything goes perfectly, we reduce a planet killer to a severe disaster. Millions might still die from impacts and climate effects, but humanity survives. The call for volunteers went out immediately. Despite the near-certain death sentence, hundreds of pilots came forward. After rigorous testing, the choice fell to Grace Martinez, a NASA pilot with exceptional skills and nerves of steel. "I have no family," she told Dr. Wright during her final briefing. "Most of the other volunteers have children or partners. This makes the most sense." The Varaxians observed all these preparations with great interest. Their mothership remained in orbit, silent except for regular status updates. The 3 rescued crew members had recovered enough to return to their ship, though they had said little about their experience with human rescuers. On the day of the mission launch, Grace Martinez climbed into the modified spacecraft carrying the nuclear packages. The design was rushed and untested, but there was no time for refinement. Every minute counted. "Good luck," Dr. Wright said through the communication system. "The whole world is watching." Grace's voice came back calm and clear. "Let's hope they're still watching tomorrow." The launch was successful. The spacecraft accelerated toward the approaching asteroid at maximum speed. From Mission Control, Dr. Wright and Samantha Powell monitored every system. Kevin Ramirez checked and rechecked his calculations. Captain Miller coordinated with military teams tracking the asteroid's path. 20 hours into the flight, a problem developed. One of the ship's thrusters began failing. Grace would have enough power to reach the asteroid, but her escape window would narrow from 3 minutes to less than 1. "Abort the mission," Dr. Wright ordered when he heard the news. "We can send another ship." "Negative," Grace replied. "There isn't time to prepare another launch. I'm continuing as planned." No one could override her decision. The mission continued. 36 hours later, Grace's ship approached the asteroid. Close-up images showed its cratered surface spinning slowly as it hurled toward Earth. "Beginning approach," Grace reported. "This thing is bigger than I expected." She maneuvered carefully, landing near the spot Kevin had calculated as optimal for the first charge. The plan required placing 7 nuclear devices at specific points. Grace worked methodically, moving across the asteroid's surface in her spacesuit, placing each charge exactly as planned. 6 down, 1 to go, she reported 4 hours later. "The thruster is getting worse. I might not make it back to the ship after the last placement." Kevin's voice came through the comm system. "You can still abort, Grace. 6 charges might be enough." "Might isn't good enough," Grace replied. "I'm placing the last one." At Mission Control, no one spoke as they watched Grace's life signs on the monitors. She placed the final charge and began moving back toward her ship. The timer was already counting down. 40 seconds to detonation," Samantha announced. "Come on, Grace." On the asteroid, Grace reached her ship but struggled with the airlock. The damaged mechanism wouldn't cycle properly. 30 seconds remained. "I can't get in," she reported, her voice still remarkably calm. "The outer door won't seal." "Override it," Kevin shouted. "Force it closed." 20 seconds. "Working on it," Grace replied. "If this doesn't work, tell everyone I was honored to do this." 10 seconds. Door sealed. Powering engines. 5 seconds. Not going to clear the blast radius. Brace for impact on Earth. 1 second. The detonation was visible from Earth as a brief flash of light in the night sky. For several agonizing minutes, there was no communication from Grace's ship. Then radar stations reported an object moving away from the asteroid. Small, damaged but intact. "We have a weak signal," Samantha announced, tears streaming down her face. "She's alive." The nuclear detonations worked better than expected. The asteroid broke into several large pieces, most of which would miss Earth entirely. A few smaller fragments would still hit, causing damage but not global extinction. As the world celebrated, the Varaxian mothership suddenly changed position. It moved to intercept Grace's damaged craft, which was tumbling through space with failing life support. "What are they doing?" Captain Miller demanded. Ambassador Krelthar's voice came through the communication system. "We are retrieving your pilot. Her actions deserve recognition. A small Varaxian vessel extended from the mothership, captured Grace's craft, and brought it aboard. Hours later, the aliens returned her to Earth, injured but alive. When she was stable enough to speak, Grace had a strange story to tell. They could have stopped the asteroid at any time, she told Dr. Wright from her hospital bed. I saw their technology. They watched us struggle when they could have saved us with the push of a button. Dr. Wright nodded grimly. The final test wasn't about whether we would survive. It was about how we would face extinction. As Grace rested, news came in about the asteroid fragments that had hit Earth. Damage was severe in some areas, but coordinated global efforts were already underway to help affected regions. The worst had been avoided, and the Varaxians had called for another meeting. The meeting with the Varaxians was set for noon at the Geneva headquarters. Armed guards lined the hallways, though everyone knew they were mostly for show. After what had happened with the asteroid, many humans wanted nothing to do with the aliens. Others demanded answers. Dr. Wright, Samantha, Captain Miller, Kevin Ramirez, and Commander Baker sat together on one side of the large table. Across from them, Ambassador Krelthar and 4 other Varaxians waited. Their skin colors shifted constantly, making it hard for the humans to read their mood. The president spoke first, her voice tight with anger. You put our entire planet at risk. You watched as millions suffered from the asteroid fragments that hit. You could have prevented all of it. Krelthar's body glowed a steady blue. Yes, the asteroid was manufactured by the Ascendancy. It was never meant to cause extinction, merely to test your response to crisis. Captain Miller slammed her hand on the table. People died in those impacts, real people with families. Every species faced with joining the Ascendancy undergoes similar testing, Krelthar replied calmly. Most fail. They either destroy themselves, fighting over resources, abandon their weakest members, or surrender to despair. You did none of these things. The room fell silent as everyone processed this information. Dr. Wright leaned forward. So the test was rigged from the start. You were watching to see if we would sacrifice each other to survive. Correct, Krelthar said. And you surprised us in ways we did not anticipate. One of the other Varaxians spoke up. Its skin pulsed with green light as it addressed the humans. I was one of the 3 your people rescued from our crashed ship. You had no reason to help us. Your world was ending. Your resources were needed elsewhere. Yet you risked your lives for ours. Commander Baker shrugged. That's what people do. No, the Varaxian said, its colors shifting to purple. That is what humans do. No other species we have tested has ever diverted resources to save members of another species during their own extinction event. Samantha looked from one alien to another. What about Grace? She was willing to die to save billions of people she never met. Individual sacrifice for one's own species is common, Krelthar acknowledged. But your pilot also expressed concern for the 3 Varaxians who had been rescued. She asked about their condition before her mission. Dr. Wright remembered Grace's words before launch. She had asked how the alien crew members were recovering, a small moment that seemed insignificant at the time. Kevin Ramirez spoke up. So what happens now? Do we pass your test or not? Krelthar's body changed to a color the humans had never seen before, something between gold and silver that seemed to glow from within. The Ascendancy's Council has reviewed all data from our time on Earth. Your species has been approved for membership with a special designation. What designation? The president asked. Empathic potential, Krelthar replied. In 50,000 years, we have encountered only 2 other species with your capacity for cross-species compassion. This trait is considered highly valuable. Captain Miller still looked angry. And if we don't want to join your ascendancy after what you did? The question seemed to surprise the aliens. Their colors flickered rapidly as they communicated among themselves. Finally, Krelthar turned back to the humans. That has never happened before, he admitted. The test is designed to make membership desirable. Those who survive usually understand the benefits of joining us. Those benefits better be good, Commander Baker said. You have a lot to make up for. Krelthar's body returned to blue. The Ascendancy offers complete protection from cosmic threats, access to technologies thousands of years beyond your current level, medical knowledge that can cure all known human diseases, and the opportunity to visit 10,000 worlds with living civilizations. The room buzzed with conversation as the humans discussed these possibilities. Dr. Wright raised his hand for silence. "Why is empathy so valuable to your Ascendancy?" he asked. "You don't seem to practice it yourselves." For the first time, Krelthar seemed uncomfortable. His colors darkened before he spoke. The Ascendancy was formed after a great war nearly destroyed all advanced life in the galaxy. The founding species learned that technology without compassion leads to extinction. Yet compassion is difficult to develop. It must be found and cultivated when it exists naturally. One of the three, rescued Varaxian, stepped forward. Its colors glowed warmly as it addressed the humans directly. "I would have died in that sunken ship. Your people had every reason to let me die, but they did not. That choice, to value life beyond your own kind, is rare and precious in the universe." The discussion continued for hours. The Varaxians explained that Earth would remain independent, but protected as an Ascendancy member. Humans would be free to develop at their own pace, with guidance rather than interference. And human representatives would join the Ascendancy Council, where their perspective on empathy would help shape galactic policy. As the meeting ended, Ambassador Krelthar approached Dr. Wright privately. "There is one more thing you should know," he said, his voice lower than usual. "The Ascendancy faces threats beyond our borders. Species with advanced technology but no concept of mercy. Your humanity may be more valuable than you realize." 1 month later, the first human delegation prepared to leave Earth aboard a Varaxian ship. Dr. Wright, Samantha, and Captain Miller would represent humanity on the Ascendancy Council. Kevin Ramirez would study alien technology. Grace Martinez, fully recovered, would train as a pilot on Varaxian vessels. Commander Baker would establish the first human embassy on the Ascendancy's central world. As they prepared to board, Dr. Wright looked back at Earth, beautiful and blue against the blackness of space. The asteroid fragments had caused damage, but humanity had survived and would rebuild, and now they would take their first steps into a much larger universe. "Nervous?" Samantha asked, standing beside him at the viewport. "A little," he admitted. "We have a lot to learn." "And a lot to teach, apparently," she replied. "Who would have thought our greatest strength would be something as simple as caring about others?" Captain Miller joined them, looking out at the stars that would soon become their highway. "It wasn't our weapons that impressed them," she said quietly. "It was our humanity." As the ship's engines powered up, Dr. Wright thought about the journey ahead. Humanity had faced its greatest test and discovered its greatest strength in the process. Whatever waited among the stars, humans would face it the same way they had always faced challenges, together, with courage and compassion. The Varaxian ship lifted away from Earth, carrying humanity's representatives to their new role in the galaxy. The stars awaited, and for the first time they seemed not cold and distant but full of possibility.